tell us where you're from and what your role is. Give us a quick version and then we'll go right into it. I'll start with Jay.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? And thanks for inviting us to join on this Spark Cell kind of episode of the AFWERX Fusion. So we're out here in Robins Air Force Base, and I'm with the 461st Air Control Wing. And we started an innovation cell here about 2 years ago, and it's kind of grown and prospered, and hope to share our stories with it.
Awesome. Miss Kathy?
I am from the 96 Test Wing at Eglin Air Force Base. I am the Wing Chief Innovation Officer. We stood up the office, if you will, 3.5 years ago. So been doing it, love it. I am an innovation enabler.
You definitely are. And then let's talk to the snowflake in the group. Hello, Snowflake. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
man, I hope that's a compliment.
I'm just teasing you. Dias Spark, who are you?
I am Dias Spark, Wedge bunker. We fly B-1s out of here and C-130s. My role is mostly to find airmen that have ideas and then take credit. Motivate them and mentor them in seeing those ideas come to reality.
I love all the ideas that you've done. You've done them very well.
Thank you.
He inspires us.
He does. He definitely does. So we're going to go into the whys because you all have a very interesting origin story, as I like to call it. And I had posted about that on LinkedIn, but I wanted to dive into it right off the bat. And Wedge, you're going last. I'm telling you that because he has an interesting journey that brought him here that I wanted everybody to hear. But Kathy, you and I spent way too much time that I stole from you on Sunday. We talked for about 4 hours and it just didn't stop, and I really enjoyed our conversation. But tell me a little bit about your why, and knowing that this can be a very frustrating gig. So why do you keep doing it?
So I keep doing it mainly because there's this inner drive in me that I cannot explain. I've had it ever since I can remember. I'm the kind of person that you tell me something can't be done and I'm going to go at it, 10 times the speed that I would have initially. I like being able to help and serve others. That's my real passion. I want to see our airmen be exposed to challenges that take them way beyond their capacity, what they even thought they were capable of. And so I'm just driven by watching their eyes light up when they reach that moment where it's like, my idea just happened. And I have 4 bases calling me and it's just growing, and they're talking about going to their next assignment and taking that with them and being that change element for the future. And that's why I do it for them. I do it because I know that when we do it right, and when we, we're going to talk about the ecosystem and some of the things that bring us to be able to do what we do, Viz and Wedge and I, but it's all of those things coming together that really help us to make a difference in the Air Force. And I've already seen it in the last 2 years that we've been doing these innovations. I've watched transformations from 70-year-old technology into cutting edge, and it is phenomenal.
So cool. We will also get into some of the success stories because all of you have really cool stories. So we'll try to pull as much as we can out of this time together. So Jay, your why is awesome. You have a really cool success story that we'll talk about in a second. But tell us more about your why. Why are you doing this?
I guess I got to reach back to my upbringing. So I grew up in New York City, and growing up in New York City could be a very, very, let's say, challenging childhood. So with that, there was an inner drive to always react. I'm a reactive type of person, and then throughout my life, and joining the military started with 9/11. I was there that day, and then saw everything transpired, wanted to do something, and like most, joined the military. Then looking ahead in my timeline of my life, Hurricane Sandy came around. And unfortunately lost my house, and a lot of friends and neighbors lost their belongings and whatnot. So went back to go and help the community. And then recently with COVID-19, that's another episode of my life. But I've always had this instance where you reach a certain point in your life and a certain wall that you have 2 choices. You can either fly over the wall, go around the wall, or do something to break the wall. You could always do something about it. So everybody in in their life does have defining moments and opportunities. I guess I was just really that person to go ahead and hey, let's do something about it. So so lots of whys. I always say, why not? Really, that's really what it comes down to is why not? And we'll talk about it later, but really quick. So for COVID-19, a couple of airmen came up with several ideas for mitigating COVID-19 and solutions for COVID-19. And they asked, hey, can we 3D print certain, solutions? And I said, why not? So really, I turned that why into why not.
You had the early days exposure to the benefit of asking why. It sounds like.
Yes.
Okay, Wedge, have you been a lifelong innovator and a believer in all kinds of new ideas forever?
Of course. No, I have not. Let me answer why. Start with why, because I'm going to butter up Simon Sinek because he's coming on shortly after. You can't see fully, you can't tell what's on that chart behind me over my left shoulder, but you can tell there's a vertical axis, and that says economic and military might. You can tell there's an x-axis, and that's time. The blue line is us as the U.S. We have been incrementally improving for the last 300 years. Don't check my math on that. However, China is improving significantly faster than we are. The next 5 to 10 years, that red line passes that blue line over my shoulder. We as innovators, the dozens of people at AFWERX, the hundreds of people in the field agents, like the 3 of us on here, and then the thousands of airmen that we influence. The only way to keep that blue line above the red line is if we make big changes and we make them quick, we make them now. So that's the why. I'm trying to stay ahead of the curve on that. So my journey, this is fun. 4 years ago, 2016, and this is the faster, funnier version. Over drinks, sometimes you can hear a longer version that makes me sound cooler. But the faster, funnier version is SOS. I decided to sign up for the think tank. Someone told me it would help with your training report afterwards, maybe get DG out of it. And I wasn't doing anything else in the summer in Maxwell, so I signed up. The problem was weird. It was, how does the Air Force create an X Prize? Remember 2016, X Prize was a thing. Here's a bunch of money for groups to try to solve big problems, but you only get the money if you win. So how does the Air Force solve that? We got randomly divided into 3 groups of 8, and it was a competition. Whose idea can win? My group, we started down the X Prize pathway, but soon these 3 troublemakers in my group, they said, you know what, the Air Force doesn't need an X Prize. What the Air Force needs is a way to empower airmen to make change. And they started coming up with all these crazy ideas, and I stopped them. I said, guys, this is not the project we were assigned to do. So we had to have a vote. And the vote came down between the 8 of us. Do we try to win the competition, or do we actually solve a problem for the Air Force? And my hand went straight up. We will win this competition because I am here to win, and that's what I'm trained to do. Thankfully, I was outvoted by the other group members. Those 3 primary group members, I'm sure everyone here knows them, Steve Lawver, Chris Benson, and Austin Delhome. They outvoted me. I had to play along. I bought them pizza and beer, and I helped them produce documents. No idea what they were talking about. And at the end of SOS, they said, good luck. It was nice knowing you guys. So I was the frozen middle. I tried to fight their progress because I didn't understand it, and it didn't help us win the immediate fight. Fast forward 2 years later, I met the other founder of AFWERX, Tony Perez, and then Jorge Manresa. And they explained to me everything at the Spark Summit, how AFWERX, which now existed somehow, I don't know where that came from, can help airmen solve their problems. So they converted me on the spot. I'm like, we need to do this. There's actual change underfoot. So the message there is the frozen middle can melt. We've all been the frozen middle, and we can all be converted. Don't give up on people, because now I was a saboteur, but I consider myself an ally at this point. But yeah, so I tried to end AFWERX at its infancy. And
where it started. So if Wedge had his way, none of us would be here today. So think about that. The additional part of that story, which I think is really cool, is they still went they went onward, even though a dear friend of theirs was pushing back. So, Jay, talk to me about using that kind of story. Talk to me about any difficulties you've had or problems that you've wanted to solve and you've gotten pushback, but you didn't listen to it.
There's plenty of those stories, right? and it's a great thing. So with the barriers and obstacles, you know, each base has its unique kind of a set of obstacles and cross-organizational kind of setup, you know. But with that, there's a silver lining, you know, as far as resources and collaboration. So with that said, really. The kind of main point in this is really pinpointing collaboration and kind of teaming. So you will get that adversity, you will get those barriers, but you have to realize that the aggregate of varying solutions from different organizations is actually greater than one person or one kind of unit trying to solve. So moving into, and I think this is where we're going with a lot of solutions recently, you can call upon other organizations that have different skill sets and whatnot to kind of help. And really, you're inventing and kind of developing this internal flywheel at your own base. So you start with you know, different units and whatever it may be. It may be a contracting officer, or legal, or it may even be something as simple as a mechanic that's on the flight line that has a capability to cut face shields. So whatever the case is, you know, there are a lot of barriers, but if you combine and unite all those effectively, you can deliver solutions, and that's kind of what we did for COVID-19.
That's very cool. So Kathy, using what Jay just said, does it work every time? Is it success every single time you pull everybody together?
So no, a lot of times we do find that there's additional challenges. And so my kind of mode of operation has been, if I'm going after and asking people for things and they're telling me no, then I'm just not talking to the right person, because there are individuals out there that will help you get past that. So we see each failure point, each stumbling block as a way to learn what we don't know. One of the biggest questions I get when we start innovations, because we do go for some of those really disruptive, transformative ones that people go, whoa, wait, what are you doing? You know, facial recognition at the gate, you know, or, you know, maybe it's wanting to link into a system like DBIDS. You know, you just don't do those kind of things. And you'll have people say, well, what's your sustainment costs and what are your requirements? And they want everything up front. And I'm like, I don't know. That's what innovation's about. It's about building that prototype so we can find out what's the answers to the questions that we don't know, and even better yet, what questions should we be asking that we don't know yet. So it's really a learning platform that we need to be able to do that. And I think when we start to set that up, we're really going to make great strides, because people are not going to be fearful to come up. Because I even had just a conversation last week, was really cool. Someone's going to platform 1 and we're looking at how that's going to work. And I said, you know what, we may fail at this. We may not make this work and we may not get out of it what you're thinking, but we're going to learn a lot and we're going to go towards phase 2, right? So we think big, start small, scale fast. That's our whole mantra. And when I said that, he said, it is so cool just to hear you say that, because I'm worried that we're going to fail. And now what am I going to do? And I said, you're not going to do anything. We're going to get through it together. And that's what it's all about. And, you know, even Jay mentioned COVID. You know, when COVID first hit, he was the first person I called. I got on the phone, Jay, what are you doing? Because I knew he was into stuff. I knew he had his hands just knee deep. He was in everything. He's out talking to the universities and everybody. And so I said, all right, what are you working on? He was working on protection equipment. So I said, all right, I'm going to go work on sanitization because we need safe workspaces. So we collaborated together. I went after something different. So we weren't doing the same things, and we were able to give the Air Force a bigger solution.
I could just add to that really quick, and that actually circled, you know, so pinging that kind of ecosystem in different spark cells actually came back full circle again, because Eglin was able to land on, she mentioned sanitizer, so a large donation from the industry as far as sanitizer goes. So they actually just provided that contact, and we reached out, hey, is there any more potential for additional sanitizer? Lo and behold, there was 10,000 gallons of it. So then we turned and called 7 additional bases, and just like that, within 2 to 3 weeks, we were able to get approval to go direct, and and then actually use C17s and C130s during normal training sorties to go ahead and pick up the hand sanitizer and got it to 7 different bases. So that right there is how you ping the ecosystem and utilize it to its fullest. And with spark cells that we have today, that power is very underestimated. And we're kind of rising to a kind of global approach here with the spark cells, kind of combining it, and you can see now you have this larger flywheel in the Air Force, right? That's actually adaptive flywheel to different kind of events or crises in the world, and we're all collectively all over the world talking to each one of other and sharing designs, sharing solutions across the world. So that's really what it is right there.
That's super cool. And it basically means don't stay in one lane if you want to get something solved, because you two are about being all over the place in a good way. So Wedge, your strategy is to delete yourself from your job one day, is what you told me.
That's the dream.
Don't you like being in charge of everything?
Right? You'd think so. So I'm a navigator, and Boeing's not hiring, so I do need to keep a job. But the goal, our absolute goal, is to not be needed. And I think AFWERX should have the same goal. At some point, all the knowledge that we've accumulated is just standard practice. This is how the Air Force runs. We have these ecosystems, so these networks of people we can just email, ask how they're doing their stuff. We go to squadron to squadron, airmen are submitting ideas. All that is just standard practice. And then we can close the door, shut down shop. I can go back to flying, or maybe back to Maxwell. Love Maxwell. But that's the goal, to shut it down. Kathy, your point about starting small, get momentum. So you've got an inferno there at Eglin. Jay and I have brush fires maybe where we're at. I mean, I got more brush fires here in Texas, but so the topic is igniting the spark. So 2 years ago, when we first started, that's all it was a spark. And you're trying to convince people, no, trust me. I got no metric data for you of any kind, but just trust me, this will work. But now that we have, we've 2 years in, we got projects, we can show them, yeah, I've never helped this LRS project, but look at this security force project, how far it's gotten in the past year. So that's the momentum we're building. You start the spark, and it lights a fire. So for the new spark cells, you just got to start. You just got to start doing stuff and then making promises to people. Hopefully you can cash those checks. But yeah, starting small and then scaling up, just like Kathy said.
Remember, Wedge, if you can't cash a check, it's okay, because you're learning from your failure. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, or just blame finance.
Oh, no.
Oh, we probably have finance people on here. That's
well, and
okay.
just I'm kind of watching the questions over there, and Wedge, you kind of started to hit on it. So just to kind of hit some of that without typing and taking away is, you want to know how to get in touch with the Spark Cell. We have a list of all the different Spark Cells and who the leads are and how to connect with them. And there's a map that you can use. We've built a lot of products that are out and available. So if you just connect up, I mean, you can email me, you can email anybody in AFWERX, they will get you connected. So there are so many individuals out there that can help you with your SIBRs and all the different things that you guys are asking about in the chat.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you're not alone in starting your own Spark Cell out there. A lot of us have kind of laid that groundwork, and we're continuing to lay that groundwork for you guys. So definitely reach out to your local Spark Cell, and if you don't have one, start one. And it doesn't have to be a base Spark Cell. It could be as small in your unit. It's just a matter of someone that's actually taking that opportunity and making their own defining moment, as Molly says.
Yeah.
And the best part about that, Jay, is that no one can tell you you're wrong when you start a Spark Cell.
That's right.
I'm sure this is how this works. You get the right tone.
We have a Spark Cell question that just came in from Blue Force. We have discovered a spark during our civilian support of one CONUS Air Force base. Is there good or a preferred method for presenting this innovation to other bases? How do you guys interact with other bases to make it a successful collaboration? Who wants that question?
So I think there's 2 or 3 different ways, right? You can go traditional email. Some of us don't keep up with our email because we get hundreds of them. You can always go out to any of the campaigns out there. And I know Jay's done this, and I'm sure Wedge has. We are always monitoring those, and we're monitoring them to see what we can leverage off of so that we don't repeat what other people have done. So those campaigns that are out on idea scale are really a good source of information. You can see if there's another base that's doing what you're doing and their search capabilities. So I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, and for those out there, if you didn't know already, but the annual AFWERX, the Air Force Spark Tank is just around the corner. So Ideal Scale, Kathy did mention, that is a great forum for getting your ideas out there, and then also collaborating with folks across the Air Force. I mean, folks will collaborate with you directly through different things like that. There's social media as well. We did the old school way of phone calls and emails, but you know, there are a lot of different avenues out there now, and please feel free to reach out to Kathy, Wedge, and I, you know, and we'll get you guys connected.
Definitely.
So we've got another question in here. I'll find your answers interesting. I want to hear from all of you. Do you think the government can play a leadership role in innovation, or does it have to have the outside market, industry market, or how does it play together?
Oh, dibs. I can go first. We should be leading the innovation. Yeah, R&D budget's 20% of anything else out there. So we're not going to be funding the R&D, but we do have the advantage. If my project fails, my office does not go out of business. So I've got more rope than than a small tech startup has in order to try new things and make mistakes. So the government should be saying, these are our needs. These are how they compare to the civilian sector. I'm looking to sign an MOU for CIBR or even buy something with SIF. But absolutely, the government should be leading that.
You know, you brought up a good point about CIBRs. So up until this point, you know, I think that there is a lot of CIBRs that could be taken advantage of, you know, and leaders could push certain programs like this, you know, and not wait for other bases to go ahead with certain programs and, you know, oh, this base is doing it, so let's do it, you know. So there is a lot of opportunities out there. It's just a matter of leaders kind of helping educate and getting that word out with the Spark Cells.
Yeah, and I kind of see that there's 3 pieces to this, right? So the first one is the Air Force should be leading, but we also sometimes have to follow, because there are things, certain areas and technologies that industry is just better, and we can reach out to them to supplement our workforce so that we're both learning and gaining, because ultimately we want to protect our country, and the industry and the military are a part of that. So what you want to do is you want to be looking at like the CIBRs, but you also need senior leadership support. You need them to say, yes, I'm going to let our airmen go forward and fail. We're going to try these things, and we're going to go after them. We're going to go after the things that people, you know, don't talk about. 3 years ago, I was talking about flying cars. We test airplanes and weapons, and they looked at me and shook their head. What do you mean flying cars? Well, guess what we're going to be doing soon, right? So these are things we don't even know what's coming towards us. I think the second piece is we need the group commanders, squadron commanders, and flight commanders to stop saying no. We need them to say yes and, or yes if, because when you start framing it in that positive light, then you're giving those airmen what they need, which is bandwidth to just try. And you'll be so surprised when they try it, what they bring back to you. It's just been phenomenal, Eglin. We've run in 18 months over 200 innovations. Do the math at how many new innovations that is a month that we are working. And these aren't just little things. They're wicked problems that require multiple units to come together and work on it. They require other bases to help you. We've got multiple things on our gate that we're doing with the virtual visitor control, and we're having to work with other bases to make that happen. And then the last thing, and the most important, is we got to be willing to listen to our airmen and let them be transparent. Let them be honest with us and say, this is horrible and here's why. And don't fault them for it. Just let them express that and then help them go after it. Because when we solve those problems, we're going to be able to change that curve that we see behind Wedge. And China will be well below our curve.
Oh, we're getting a demo. There we go.
That's our future curve right there.
Uh-oh.
Wedge,
You got to talk so I can see it.
Wedge, talk to me about an airman who may or may not have a leader directly above them that is super supportive of their desire to jump into something like this, what advice would you want to give them?
Always respect your leadership. But here's how you get through those leadership. You go to your squadron commander. I have this idea to fix scheduling these aircraft completely, and he's heard these ideas before. And you said he's not supportive. He's gonna throw you out of there. But instead, prior to that conversation, come to us, talk to us. Our goal is to take your good idea and make it feasible, viable, and not plausible, desirable. All three of them. So come to us. This is all we do is we make these we turn pain points into dream end states and eventually solutions. So that's what Spark Cells exist for. And then when you come to them with a solid plan, and by the way, I've already got $750,000 SIBR or $50,000 SIF lined up to fund it, they're going to be receptive. No one's going to turn down free money and a solid plan.
So we've only got, I got a five-minute warning, 109. So we've got to hurry. But if you guys are comfortable, I saw Kathy just did it. If you guys are comfortable putting your contact info in the chat channel, and then we have a promise from everybody not to spam y'all with like crazy sales stuff. But anybody, we've got a lot of people that are interested in starting their own Spark Cells. So I highly recommend you guys touching with these folks. And then give us, like each one of you, give us a parting statement of like why, I don't know, you decide what that parting statement is. I'm not going to direct it. Jay, you're up.
Okay, all right. So, you know, this is about igniting airmen and innovation in the Air Force, you know, and starting your own Spark Cell. So whether you have a Spark Cell or you're looking to start one, just keep in mind that you have your own ecosystem there. You could start locally. You could start with your universities nearby. We literally cold called our universities nearby, and that's how we started our partnership, by cold calling. So start your ecosystem there kind of locally. You will reach those points where frankly, some folks may laugh at you at your idea, you know, and you will get some commanders that are, hey, that's a waste of money. But really, at the end of the day, if you believe in it, you know, it will eventually happen. You know, and you just got to keep cracking at it. You know, and I just want to give a plug to my wife. My wife actually is a big supporter of innovation, because she told me this morning, you know, did you know Amelia Earhart? They laughed at her, and look what happened. You know, look what happened to her. So you know, you will get those roadblocks, but you will make your defining moment in your career or your life. So go ahead and take that leap, and you know, you will have leadership that will support you. Maybe not, but heck, keep driving at it, and you know, like I said before when I opened up, why not?
Well, and I'll add to that. Just remember that the person laughing at you might be a Wedge one day, so don't listen to him too much, because he'll be your peer at some point.
But he's fully committed now.
Yeah, he's fully committed. And, the AFWERX founders convinced him, so you guys can convince your leaders that aren't totally convinced, but you may have to do it in a unique way. Kathy, you're up. What are your parting statements?
So I'll say real quick, Jay, based on what you said, when I first started, I used to tell people if I don't have individuals laughing at me or thinking what I'm saying is science fiction, I'm not being disruptive enough. And on that note, I think my parting words would be to airmen, to leadership, whether you're for it or against it. You know, we get a bad rep as disruptors. They think that disruptors are out there breaking the law, we're rogue, we're just doing whatever we want. But, you know, that's not the case. As a disruptor, what we're trying to do is we're putting discipline into what we're doing. It's just we're doing it in a way that we're always looking for better ways to do things. We're still in the lines. We're not breaking laws. We're not doing things, but we are challenging the status quo, and that can sometimes make people uncomfortable. And I think that disruptor comment coupled with this one, it's a quote I got from a good friend at IMSC that we've been working with a lot lately. You know, as innovators and enablers, we sometimes need encouragement because like you said, when you started, there's a lot of days where, you know, we just want to quit. And I'm thankful for Jay and Wedge and Tony and AFWERX and you and everybody else that's taken the time to encourage me at different points. But I would say this, The people that are saying it can't be done really need to get out of the way of people that are doing it. So that's what I would ask of you.
Amen.
All right.
Or
The four things that you need, four things you need to solve a problem. You need time. Ask your boss for time. I serve my Spark cell, ask for 1 day a week. You need money. There's so much money out there right now for problem solving in the Air Force. You need leadership support. All the, General Goldfein through all the major commands, they're saying we need innovation, leadership support there. The fourth thing is hustle. That's on you as an airman. If you've got an idea, you gotta hustle. That's the final piece, and that's all it takes.
it requires grit, and if you aren't surrounded by people that approve what you're doing or support what you're doing, if anything this panel has done, I hope it has inspired everybody to find allies. Foxhole allies are on the screen, and you've got many around you. You might just not know it. That is a wrap, everybody. I really appreciate y'all's time. This was fun.
Thanks, Molly, for moderating,
Molly.
and thank you guys for coming and listening to us. And we look forward to meeting you personally. So reach out.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Molly.
Bye. Thanks, guys.